Alright, guys and gals and everybody else, here we are for episode 10. Into the double digits already. You know, I find this for me kind of easy as far as just the talking and recording. Even if nobody ever watches any of these things, it'll be something for me to go back some years ahead and look at what was he thinking, why was he thinking like that, what kind of shape was he in, how far did all of this go, did it become successful at all, what do I think success means then compared to now, that type of stuff, right? So for me, this is very therapeutic. It really is a huge release for me to get this stuff out of my head. And I'm sure there's a lot of people like this, although we're all unique in our own way, right? There's just a lot of pent up, even some stuff that's buried away, but I've realized slowly starts coming to the surface the more and more I make room for it to rise up, right? Kind of like when you're cleaning out a pit, you start digging the hole and throwing the dirt out, and the deeper you dig, the more you start to expose stuff that you might have forgot that you buried years ago. Kind of like the buried treasure kind of thing. And some of the things that I bring up are good treasures. Some of the things are not. But I do think it's still good that I'm getting it out. Now, I'm not sitting here advocating that this is all anybody should ever do to try and help with mental stability and releasing things and that nature. I'm no pro psychiatrist, right? Me personally, I've tried counseling a couple different times. Once, my mom took me when I was right around 17, 18, and all I remember from that was, and again, my life all the way up until I met who is now my wife, and I met her March of 2001, was nothing but chaos with a couple little breaks here and there. So there's a lot there, right? There's a lot to get out. And anyways, my mom had taken me to see this psychiatrist, and it was a nice lady. And I remember she was just talking to me a little bit, and I distinctly remember her saying, "Now, I want you to express yourself. You tell me that you're angry," which I was. "You tell me that you have a hot temper," which I did. Still do, but as I've gotten older and learned a lot, I've learned to curb and temper that and realize that an angry man can't be a friend to anyone really, and really can't be trusted either. And also, an angry man is a terrible example to his kids. And the last thing I wanted my kids to see is what I seen growing up. So I refused to, let that be who I was known to be, right? So I remember this lady, this psychiatrist, telling me I could do whatever I wanted to that office as far as physical. The only thing I wasn't allowed to do was touch her physically in a harmful or anything like that. And I remember just sitting there listening to and looking her in the eye. Number one, I'd never had an adult or anybody tell me something like that. So I was kind of astounded that a grown-up would say such a thing. And then number two, I thought, lady, you really don't have any idea what you're saying. Because, number one, I can't just channel and make myself angry, right? It comes through either thinking about things or being provoked, that type of thing, right? And so there was that. I knew it wasn't gonna happen, but the second part of it was just, if you had any idea or had ever seen anything from my past, you wouldn't say that. You wouldn't be offering that. And then I kind of chuckled. I said, "Nah, I'm okay." And we left it at that. And that's all I remember from that session. other than thinking, this is dumb. I don't want to sit here and talk about my feelings to some woman I don't know, that kind of thing, right? And the next couple of times I tried was after we had lost our daughter. And even with that, I thought to myself, well, number one, they want to get me on medication. I ain't doing it. Number two, just because I bring it up to this person isn't necessarily helping me. And I tried, I really tried. And I broke down a couple of times, that type of thing. But I just remember thinking afterwards, it's like, this really isn't doing anything. I don't know this person. So I'm not saying that I'll never go get help again or anything like that. And I'm also not suggesting that you shouldn't seek professional help for any issues that you might have. It certainly is good for people to be able to talk to people. It just has to be the person that you want to talk to, okay? I have found that my wife is my counselor. And she's also my best friend, literally my best friend. You get a lot of husbands that try and say that about their wives, and they're just trying to look cool or whatever, Not everybody. I know there's a lot of guys that probably feel that way, for sure. But I just know me, that she's the only human being on this earth I've ever been able to completely open up with about everything that happened in my life, and what I'm thinking, how I feel, the struggles and insecurities that I have, and being able to be vulnerable to her. The very person that I'm supposed to be the strongest for, defend, protect, and provide for, I'm also able to be vulnerable to that same person. And for me, and I'm sure for everybody, but to me, being vulnerable means you're sharing with this person things that you've struggled with your whole life, things that have happened, those type of things, right? And this person has the potential to use it against you, to throw it back up in your face. Especially growing up the way I did and seeing the things that I'd seen, hearing the things that I've heard, having experiences and all those different types of things, it was difficult. I had seen people try and be vulnerable, and only to have it completely blow up in their face, even as a young child. So, to be able to give and allow my wife to have that kind of power over me, secured in me something I had never felt with another human being. Now, this video isn't about marriage or anything like that. I am getting to something, but like I said, when I start rolling, my head just starts pushing out information, right? And hopefully all the things that I say can help many different people through many subjects, right? I might have said something in here that's going to help somebody, and by the end of this video, something else I'm talking about will help another person, right? Forget everything else I might have said. That one thing they hang on, and maybe it changed an outcome in their life or spared them from something drastic, right? And that's really the hope that I have with these videos, is that they'll just help people. I'm not ever going to be some famous influencer, There's a lot of people on YouTube and social media and stuff trying to do that thing. Would I like to be able to influence a lot of people? Sure, if it was people actually receiving help and enjoyed the content and all the different things I put out, from walks and talks like this to the training videos, and as I progress through the different goals that I have and get more skill in doing this, I don't ever want to forget the one thing that I know has been a successful thing for me as far as being able to reach people, and that's just being real. If you're going to get anything from me, you're going to get just real talk, real emotion, raw at times, and I'm just not going to bullshit you. Whether we're going to talk about politics, history, religion, faith, marriage, definitely the industry of everything to do with weightlifting. And to me, as a kid, everything was wrapped up into bodybuilding as a kid, right? whether it was strength training or building for muscles and, you know, all these different types of things. If you were improving your physique because you wanted to get bigger and stronger, to me, in my youth, that's what bodybuilding was. Now, certainly I know the differences now. But that's my goal, is to be able to just help people, okay? As I get more comfortable doing this, you know, walking through the neighborhood, holding a camera in my face, literally nobody else in this entire neighborhood that I've ever seen is doing this, not being self-conscious about it, those types of things, hopefully becomes more of value to the people that are subscribed, and sharing it to other people and different things like that. Hopefully we can start having some discussions and conversations in the comments and really get the chatter going and just help people out. So anyway, let me take a drink of water before I kind of get to what I wanted to talk about tonight. And I hope the camera moving around and that kind of thing is okay with everybody. You know, like I said, I'm just trying to keep it real. I don't want this to look like some manufactured production. Okay. I got a little tripod on this thing. I might decide to sit, take a little break, and just record my thoughts as I sit. So, what's the point? What is it that I wanted to talk about tonight? I want to kind of dive into why I've decided to do a bodybuilding show. I touched on it a little bit in my first video, where I described kind of how lifting became a huge part of my identity and who I am, the ups and downs that I had in life, and how they revolved around lifting, and how it came and went, but it was always there in my heart. And for me, bodybuilding, it's a competition. It meant, yep, I'm going to have to get myself into shape, in a shape that I'd never been in before, you know, being what they call peeled and ripped to the bone. Literally, that's what bodybuilding is about, is getting your body fat down as much as possible, putting out as much muscle as you can for whatever division that you're in, and to the rest of the world just looking like a muscular, fit human being. You know, you have your different divisions where you got open bodybuilding, where they're just absolute mutants, which is my favorite. Okay, to me, the way the rules are set up, you know, and the criteria for being an open bodybuilder, I wish it was just be as big, as gnarly, as ripped out as you can possibly be. Yes, with some aestheticism and symmetry and all those types of things everybody's talking about. But that's what the other divisions are for in my mind, you know. If you want the aesthetically pleasing and the symmetry, that's what classic is for, right? But open bodybuilding, the ones that everybody wants to go see, the ones that make the most money, you know, the ones that get the biggest draw, are the mutants. Because everybody throughout history has always been amazed by the abnormal, right? Why do you think circuses exist? You know, I say this when I argue online all the time with people arguing about who should be in what division and that kind of stuff. And if you don't follow bodybuilding, then, you know, I know you probably don't know what I'm talking about as far as divisions and stuff, but one of my arguments is when they start complaining that a certain division is kind of getting out of line with what their criteria are for the division, and I tell them, people come to see the freaks. That's why they don't want to necessarily go and see the division that you're in. When people went to the circuses, they didn't go to see grandma make bread. You've seen that every day. That was ordinary. Everybody had that, right? You went to the circus to see the two-headed wolf boy or the bearded lady. And most especially, you went to see that strong man, the guy that can do heavy ass stuff, crazy stuff, had a physique, unlike most people, could eat large amounts of food. All that stuff really amazed men, women, and children. It's just the way that we're made. Same thing with bodybuilding, you know, the big boys. So yeah, part of why I want to do bodybuilding and enter a competition is kind of the wow factor. It is somewhat an ego thing, okay? That's one of the things that's always driven me in the gym. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having an ego. But if your ego's out of control, that's the problem. If you're an egomaniac, that's a problem. For me, my ego shows when I'm in the gym and the younger guys, are watching me lift heavy weight that they can't hit with a better physique than they have through years of just lifting and things like that. Drives me to work harder in the gym. It literally does. It's one of the benefits about being in a public gym as opposed to my own home gym. I miss that. It is something that I use to drive me. My ego also likes it when my wife spots me and at the same time watches me lift. It makes me not want to fail. It's something that drives me. It's no different than when you have all your bros with you and everybody's screaming and hollering at the top of their lungs to, get that last rep. You know what I'm talking about. It's the same thing. Your ego does not want to let those guys down. So yes, being in bodybuilding and wanting to be in a competition is somewhat egocentric. The other reason is I'm a person that has to have a goal. Like literally, I have to have a goal set in front of me to keep me from going off the road, right? When you go down those treacherous roads and you got all those winding curves and hills and mountains and they put those guardrails up so you don't crash and burn over the side. That's what a goal is for me. It keeps me focused and it causes me to put guardrails up. The guardrails in bodybuilding would be eating right, staying faithful to exercising, lifting according to a program, getting proper sleep, getting proper hydration, keeping stress as low as possible in my life, which helps with the sleep, which helps with all different types of chemical reactions and things that are going on inside the body. The slightest little thing can stunt growth when it comes to muscle tissue. You get depressed, you get angry, you get in any way your mood is affected negatively, which is part of life, right? If you don't get that under control, that spikes what they call cortisol. And cortisol causes a lot of problems. Then introduce inflammation and all these different types of things that your body is releasing into your system because it's trying to protect itself. It's trying to, like I mentioned before, the body always is in survival mode if it's not in homeostasis. If you're doing anything outside of what your body considers normal, it goes into survival mode. And it kicks out all those different hormones and things like that just make your body go all out of whack. Put the wrong type of food in your body after eating clean for a while, it's going to let you know, hey, we don't like that anymore. Only get 5 hours of sleep instead of 7 or 8. The body's going to make you feel it the next day at work, walking around, especially in the gym. Then your mood goes down. You're fatigued, all these other things. You might not feel like eating. You might not feel like drinking your water. You might not feel like going to the gym. All because you missed an hour of sleep, right? Bad day at work, get in a fight with your wife. All these million types of things, or fight with your husband, all these different types of things that go on in day-to-day life, they're going to happen. It's how you manage those things, right? And a lot of people do a lot of things to help them manage these different types of stressful situations in their life. Some people will go read a book. Some people will go walk. Some people are into name the hobby, right? It's things they've taught themselves or these mental exercises they've learned to help them deal with. Maybe it's deep breathing, counting purple sheep, who knows? Whatever it is that you've developed in your mind to help you cope with the stressful situations that come into your life day by day are meant to bring you down, to de-escalate your system. And bodybuilding helps me do that more than anything else, okay? Now, I've always trained for that 1 rep max. Strong, big, look like an ox, lift like an ox, move like an ox, all this type of stuff, right? That's how my training's always been. since about my late 20s. Before that, it was sort of bodybuilding, right? Typical bodybuilding scheme, but I wasn't following the eating and the sleeping and all the good nutrition, because I really didn't know all that stuff back then. Transferring over to becoming a bodybuilder has caused me to reevaluate a lot of things. You know, it makes me pay attention to my blood work. And my blood work is affected by stressful situations, my sleep, the amount of exercise, heavy lifting. And remember, heavy, I mean relatively heavy for what you're trying to do. Heavy doesn't mean you go in there as a 150-pound female and deadlift 600 pounds just because the brute ox that's in there is doing the same thing. That's not what it means. Yes, that's heavy for him, but you going in there and doing 2 times your body weight is heavy for you. What we mean by lift heavy is get in there and continually progress yourself in the amount of weight you're able to use, in the amount of reps that you're trying to do. Whatever it is that you're into, that's progressing. You want to be stronger. And lifting heavier weights makes your body adapt to the stress you're putting it under, the good stress. You know, you go in there and 4 days a week, you're doing your program. You know, day 1 you got legs, lower body stuff. You know, day 2 you got a push-pull, you got upper body stuff. However you split your program up. And you're going there day after day, week after week, constantly putting your body under this stress. It has to adapt. That's how it grows. You go in there and you're completely tearing those muscle fibers up every time you go in that gym, if you're pushing it beyond its limit at that time. If you go in there and do the same thing, same weight, same rep scheme over and over and over again, you're getting no growth, you're getting no response. The body says, okay, we're used to this, we're done growing, and that's it. And then a lot of people wonder, I've been lifting the same weight, I've been benching the same bench, I've been squatting the same squat for 2 years. Okay, well, do you add weight to the bar every week? Well, no, I don't want to hurt myself. Okay, well, you're not going to progress. You know, it is what it is. So that's what bodybuilding does for me, the training like a bodybuilder, having a competition. And that's the other difference too, right? I can train like a bodybuilder, but if I don't have a specific goal, I'm going to go off the rails. I'm not going to care if I miss a meal or 2. I'm not going to care if I drink enough water. I'm not going to care that I stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning because I hate wasting my time sleeping. I'm not going to care if in my program I have 5 or 6 different exercises like squat, leg extensions, leg curls, RDLs, you know, abs, and then 30 minutes of stair stepper, right? If I don't have a specific goal other than I'm training like a bodybuilder, then I'm not going to care if I skip out on the cardio, or if I only do 2 sets instead of 4 sets on a particular exercise, right? No goal, no care. Get in there, say I worked out, go home. So that's another thing that actually wanting to be in a bodybuilding competition is doing for me. I don't want to look like a fool. That's because it's based on my ego, right? I talked about my ego already. I want to be successful. To me, I'm just going to touch on this. Successful doesn't... Alright guys, well, I'm going to have to figure out how to edit and splice things together sooner than I thought. So, right in the middle of my video, or I should say at the end of what I was talking about, it told me my phone storage was full and cut the video short. So, lesson learned. Make sure you have enough room before you start recording. So anyways, let me try and gather my thoughts, what I was getting to. I know I was talking about why I'm doing bodybuilding and the guardrails and, you know, the different things that bodybuilding is doing for me as far as making sure I implement things into my life to de-escalate stressful situations, right? And having that goal, being on stage, competing, is more, I have to do that. I have to have that specific goal, because if I just say I'm just going to train like a bodybuilder and be a bodybuilder by name only, then I'm not going to care if I miss, you know, like I said, a lifting situation, a meal here and there, or I get improper sleep. So continue on with why I've chose to get on stage, actually be a competitive bodybuilder. By competitive, I just mean compete. I don't know if I'm going to be competitive with anybody. So it's been hot here for the last 3 days, guys. We're talking 100 degrees. As we get ready to roll into this weekend, it's going to be even hotter tomorrow. But it's kind of cooled off a little bit. I'd say it's probably just about a little over 80 degrees right now. But the sun's starting to go down just a little, and so it's actually more pleasant. But another reason why I need to do a competition is for the mental aspect of the discipline that being a bodybuilder, competitive bodybuilder, brings. You know, you have to daily learn how to get through crappy days, you know, because if you miss a lifting session because you got a bad night's sleep, or you had a bad day at work, or you had a fight with your spouse, or an unexpected bill popped up, you know. Now, I'm not taking into consideration the things that you have to miss sleep for, or you have to miss a training session for, or you might have to miss a meal for, right? There are definitely times in life, and this is where balance comes in. And I don't care about these maniacs that tell you you got to be unbalanced to be successful. There's probably a little bit of truth to that, but there's certain things in my life that I'm not going to be unbalanced with, and that's caring for my family, okay? Now, one of the things I'm learning through discipline is prioritizing. I have the mindset when I put my brain on something, I'm going to do everything possible to achieve it. And sometimes that used to mean time with the family or certain things sacrificed. Maybe finances or whatever, you name it, you know, when it involves being with the family. With that said, prioritizing and having discipline in preparing to get on stage next year is showing me I can't let it become the thing that rules my life, okay? I can't say, well, my wife's feeling lonely. That's one of the good things that the two of us are going through this together, but she needs her own time, you know, or whatever it might be. I have to be disciplined in saying, nope, family comes first, wife comes first, okay? Responsibilities come first. And it's a good thing I've been doing that for a long time, so that really isn't a hard one for me. But every once in a while, I got to remember, put things in their proper place. So it's teaching me discipline in that aspect. It's teaching me discipline that I can't miss a training day simply because I don't feel like training. You know, like I said before, it was easy. It's hot outside. You know, we were in our new gym last night, and there's no air in it right now. Like if you watched my leg day video that I posted this morning, you'll see. You can see how I'm sweating and things like that, and I mentioned a little bit. And still, I could care less if there's air in there or not. But if I was still working out in the field, out there, and it was 100 degrees like it has been the past 3 days, digging dirt and putting pipe in the ground, you know, and then had to go work in a hot-ass gym with no air conditioner, 99% chance I'd have sat at home in the air eating a big old bowl of ice cream, because that's what I used to do. So wanting to be on stage and looking my best is causing me to not do those things, to not skip a training day. And if I have to miss it on an assigned day, I make up for it. I don't just roll on and say, well, I'll forget that one, make it up in a month. So it keeps me on focus with the program. It certainly keeps me focused with the nutrition. I don't want to get up on stage and look like a fat cow. You know, this is Mr. Universe, not Mr. Garbage Man competition, right? Or not Mr. Universe, but you know what I'm saying, okay? I want to get up there and present the best complete package that I possibly can. And I'll only do that if I keep my nutrition in check. If I eat the things that I know I'm supposed to eat and stay away from the things that I know I'm not supposed to have. And my everyday diet consists of, and I posted the actual menu on my Instagram, If you haven't seen it, you can jump over there and take a look at it. But I took all the foods that I ate. I took my daily caloric intake, told Grok, split this up into 5 meals, split all the macros evenly throughout those 5 meals, and make me a menu, make me a chart. And it took all about 45 seconds for it to do it, right? Which is really cool. Saved me a lot of headache. And I have one of those on my bulletin board in my office, and one sitting on the fridge. I also have a copy of it on my phone, so that meal number 1, which is 1 Greek yogurt, a cup of frozen berries, mixed berries, about 2 tablespoons of granola, and about a tablespoon of honey. That's the first meal. Second meal is 200 to 300 grams of egg whites, 2 real farm fresh eggs. You don't have to do farm fresh eggs, but I just don't do store-bought anymore. Huge difference when you're talking about eating it and not mixing it with something to bake. And I believe it's right around 200 grams or so, or something like that, of potato. My potatoes don't have any butter in them or anything like that. So if I'm not saying it, that means it's not on my menu, okay? Lunch, 6 ounces of ground chicken and 150 grams of rice. My 3 o'clock meal, which would be the pre-workout meal, is a slice of watermelon. Can't remember the exact weight right now off the top of my head, but a slice of watermelon. There's another protein source. It might be my Core Power protein drink, something like that. And then there's my post-workout meal, which is chicken and rice again, or lean ground beef. By lean I mean 93.7, and either potato or rice. I have the option there. And then I believe it's another slice of watermelon and some type of protein right around 9 o'clock at night, which is supposed to help hold me over through the night, right? 2,200 calories a day. I look at that menu and I eat what it says. We don't deviate. Now there's once in a while where I might steal a cookie or something like that, but I work my ass off the next day for that cookie, okay? My body weight's still going down. I woke up this morning, I was 197 pounds. 197.6 to be exact, okay? The goal is either 190 or 185. Coach said this morning it's all determined by how I look at that body weight. And even though we're in a mock prep, I'm not stepping on stage this year, if it isn't the look that he wants, we're gonna have to keep going. And in my mind, all of this is disciplining me for what we're going to have to go through next year. See, it'd have been a lot worse if I decided not to do anything this year and start next year. And then next year, when I actually planned on doing a competition, I would have had to lose 40 pounds, learn how I'm going to react, go through all the ups and downs, all that kind of crap, you know. And I'm the type of person, I have to have a plan. I like to know my plans are set in stone, only deviate from if necessary. You know, our daughter's getting married in August. I want everything paid for, planned out as much as possible, at least 2 weeks before the wedding. That's just how my brain operates, okay? So, one thing that bodybuilding has done for me is it's keeping my diet and eating in sync, right in check, right? I'm experiencing, you know, the hunger pains and the different things I'm going to have to go through, the little bit lower energy in the gym because the calories are low, the continual hunger that's not there. You know, I'm not in starvation mode or anything like that. I'm not ravenously hungry. There are times where, you know, I could eat the south end of a northbound mule, as they used to say. But when I'm feeling that, when I'm super stupid hungry like that, that's when I just say, you know what, get up and go do something. Because usually if I'm active, or if I have a project, I will not finish. I will not stop to eat, go to the bathroom, or anything while I'm doing that project until it's done. Whether it's some kind of yard maintenance, building something, whatever it is, that's just how I am. So when I get super hungry like that, what I do now is I go for long walks. Tire my legs out, tire myself out. By the time I get home, it's time for a shower, get ready for bed, and try to have lights out by 10:30 every night. Sometimes that's a little more difficult because when the wife doesn't get home until 9:30 from work, we like to sit up together for about an hour, and I need everybody sleeping before I can even think about going to sleep. So there are those nights, but I don't let it affect me. If my butt's supposed to be in the gym the next day, then my butt gets in the gym the next day, right? So bodybuilding, getting on stage, has helped me keep my diet in check, helped me keep my priorities in check when it comes to family time and different things like that. But it's trickling over into the discipline of other responsibilities that I have, like work. There's a lot of responsibilities I have with my position, okay? I'm not going to say where I work or anything like that, but people that know me already know. I have a lot of responsibilities. If I make mistakes, we could lose contracts and a lot of people could be without work, okay? And that's not cool. So I have to stay on top of my game. Well, there's times where it's just like, I'm tired of dealing with people. I'm tired of dealing with corporate. I'm tired of dealing with customers. I'm tired of dealing with whatever it is, right? We all go through that. But discipline tells me, hey, if you don't do this job right, you're going to lose your job, and so will a lot of other people. And if I lose my job, then I can't support my family. And I can't do bodybuilding, right? If I don't have a job, the last thing I'm going to be paying for is a gym membership and bodybuilding materials to get on stage at a show, right? I'm going to make sure I can feed my family first. So it's teaching me discipline in other areas of my life that aren't necessarily related to bodybuilding. More than just, family priorities, work responsibilities. The whole getting up at a certain time, my alarm's set 5 a.m. I'm out of that bed. I, first thing, use the bathroom, and then, like I've explained before, I have on the outdoor spigot on the back of the house on our patio, 3/4 inch piping, PVC piping coming up the back of the house, fastened to the house with a shower head coming off so that I can stand underneath the cold water every morning, regardless of the temperature, regardless if it's raining. I've stood out there when it was 28 degrees, if the pipe wasn't froze, because our water lines run through a basement, so they're constantly heated. So usually I don't have to worry about that. When it would get below 20, that's when it would freeze up on me. And then I would just have to go to the downstairs shower and take the cold shower. But I like showering outside. Our yard's all fenced off. I got short trunks on, that type of thing, So not doing anything illegal or anything. Standing underneath that cold water. Are there times that I don't want to do it? Yeah. You shovel snow out of your way so you can stand underneath a cold shower outside, where as soon as it hits you, it's freezing up. The steam's rolling off your body, right? Because your body's warmer than the water you're putting on it. And people say, why do you do that? Because my mind tells me not to do it, because it's uncomfortable. The body doesn't want to do it. It wants to be warm and toasty. It wanted to stay in bed under the covers, right? And I'm not saying I'm some kind of freak that you guys need to take examples from. This is just things that I've chosen to do in the last couple of years to help keep me disciplined, that help me in all areas of life. So I talked about bodybuilding, getting on the stage for the sole purpose of staying in shape, for keeping my priorities straight, for disciplining other areas of my life that are not related to bodybuilding. But the number one reason why I chose to actually compete in a bodybuilding show is because the last 4 or 5 weeks before a show, or longer depending upon how good a shape you are in, are the most miserable. okay? And I had a couple of them ask me, why are you going to want to go through that? There will be fatigue, there will be brain fog, there will be hunger pains, there will be all the different emotions that come with hunger, because that's the biggest thing, right? It's the hunger, because you're dieting down, you're cutting your calories so low that the body starts to do weird things, the brain starts to do weird things, like forget things, and then your sleep gets affected. So yes, you won't always get quality sleep while you're on a cutting phase for a bodybuilding show. And I only know this stuff because of the material that we watch, the people that we follow, the information that we're consuming, our coach, and we've been consuming a lot over the last year and a half. So we know what's coming to an extent. We've been through what you could call a cut phase back in 2017 when we decided to do keto, right? I was running in the beginning, when I started that, 2,300 calories a day, and then I got all the way down to 1,700 calories a day. And I ran 1,700 calories for probably the last 4 weeks of that keto experience, and I lost 50 pounds in 10 weeks. Average 5 pounds a week, which is not healthy. So I know what it's like to have to work. We trained CrossFit, Krav Maga, Jiu-Jitsu, and worked out in my home gym 2 nights a week at least. That was a lot. So we know what that's about. Okay. Turn down a different road here. And then as far as dark days, what my wife and I went through in fall of 23 and for the rest of that year and all of 24, but especially in the first several months, was the darkest time of our lives. And I know that by the grace of God and good people in our lives and her and I having each other, if we can make it through that, we can make it through anything. Now, we're choosing to do this. In my mind, that's telling me it should be more controllable than what we had to go through before, which obviously we wouldn't have chose and didn't choose. Is some of this trying to prepare my mind mentally? Yep. And I'm a firm believer in that's what you have to do. You see, there's things that I do in my heart and in my mind to negate some of the negativity that comes to my mind. Bad things happen, I try and think of something positive. I always try and get my wife and my girls to do that. Because I focus on the fact that me staying negative and mad about the situation isn't going to change the situation. Does it work every time? No. Is it a goal that I have? Yes. Why is it a goal? Because it correlates with what I'm trying to do to get on stage. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to do here. What I'm trying to show you, why I chose to do a bodybuilding show. The main reason is all about the mental aspect. Because like I told you in the beginning, my brain is always going. My head is full of things, full of painful things. A lot of painful things. A lot of the things my brain has chosen to forget. But whenever it wants to, it brings it up. And what bodybuilding is doing for me, the preparation of it, is teaching me to discipline my mind, my emotions, my heart, so that I don't lose control and go off the deep end. Because to be honest with you guys, and I've had several good men tell me this, and I already know it, I'm amazed that I'm still up and walking. I'm amazed that I'm not a raging alcoholic living somewhere deep in the woods, or legitimately, I'm amazed that I haven't checked out, if you know what I mean. And I know you got to be careful with what you say on YouTube. Not that anybody's going to be watching this, but that is the biggest factor. It's teaching me to have discipline in my relationship with God, in my relationship to my faith in Him, the things that I know I'm supposed to do, you know, those type of things, right? And some people might say, well, why don't you just focus on God? Well, I am, but I'm doing that in a way that relates to me, that is something that gives me a physical thing to attain, while at the same time knowing that I'm doing this because of the things it's teaching me along the road. And what I'm trying to share with you guys is not that everybody needs to get up on a bodybuilding stage for sure, right? But what I am trying to say is, regardless of what life throws at you, you have a choice. You can either let it take you down into the pit with it and destroy everything about you and all the people around you, or you can make a choice and say, you know what, all these bad things happened, every one of them, but me staying pissed off about it, me refusing to face it, me taking it out on everybody else around me, isn't going to remove the fact that the bad thing happened. Okay? Me staying a raging alcoholic and checking out of life isn't bringing my daughter back. It's not. Me doing a bodybuilding show isn't going to either. But what it does do, in my mind, is help me to continue to develop as a human being, as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as a brother, as a whatever label you want to put on it, into a better person, to be of more value to the people around me and the people I'm in contact with, which is something that I know my daughter would be proud of, because she was. Okay? Now, I'm not trying to end this on a somber note. What I'm trying to drive home is the purpose that I am doing this bodybuilding show. Really, the last thing it really is for me to stand on stage in a bikini, tanned up and oiled up, in the best shape of my life. That's literally the last thing in my mind that's important. Literally what it is doing for me is it's reshaping me to deal with the different situations that have gone on in my life, to rethink about them, to own them, to control them, and to control me, and not let it be what controls me. I control myself. Okay? So, with all that said, guys, this might be a two-part video. If I can't learn how to splice this stuff together. I think the first one went on for damn near 35 minutes or so. Not sure. And this one's about 25 minutes right now. So, with that, I will post this. It should be up tomorrow morning. Don't take but a second. And hopefully you got something out of it. If you did, leave a comment. Maybe share it with somebody that maybe needs this kind of a talk. Help them through some dark times. Maybe it'll help you focus on picking a goal for yourself so that you can redirect your brain power into something positive. Deal with things that have happened in the past, or deal with things that are going on now, right? For me, it's bodybuilding. It's a competition. And it involves things I've always loved doing anyways. Working out, lifting weights, changing my physique. Those are the outside things. The biggest thing for me, the win that I'm getting, isn't the standing on stage and maybe getting an award and a placing. It's knowing inside that I'm a different and better human being because of it. Disciplined. Alright, over and out. See you guys at the next one.